Aloha, Richard Halverson here, and today we're going to start assignment 2. This is ICS321. So in this assignment, I'm sharing my screen here. In this assignment, it's this hypothetical garden glory database, and there's 5 tables, and it looks like there's okay, so it looks like it's a company that keeps up lawns or something. And so we've got some employees here, list of employees, and we've got some services that they do that the Garden Glory does: mows lawn, plants annuals, weeds gardens, trims hedges, and so on. And then there's these properties here. These properties, East Lake Building and Elm Street Apartments, and so on. And these properties have owners. Okay, so these some owners up here. And owners can be individuals or corporations. Okay, and so this is a 6 tables. Yeah, 5 tables, and so we're supposed to implement this database, and there's the constraints and so on are spelled out here. The referential integrity constraints, name the database. This explains the referential integrity constraints, and then how the primary keys work, and then also the field types. I've actually given you specific field types that I would like you to set these database tables to. Okay, so you're supposed to confirm. You're supposed to build this database on your server. Okay, and then the second part of the assignment is a bunch of SQL statements that you have to specify for doing certain selects or queries into the database. And so we'll get to that later. And by the way, this is part 2. You may not. We don't really get into SQL until later in the semester. So this part of the assignment is actually due at the end. I mean, I'm not going to expect you to do it until later on. This part here, though, is pretty timely for what we're covering in the textbook right now. All right, so let's go look at my server here, and I think I'm Joe Schmo, Joe Schmo at ICS321.com, and there's nothing there. If I go to my cPanel, and log in, JS8SCHMOE, and then it was SJ. Dun, dun, dun. All right. Okay, I'm gonna let's see. I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna separate this, and I'm gonna put this one. Put this one over here, and this I'm gonna put here. All right, great. So okay, and so I tell you what tables to make. You're supposed to make all these tables and name the tables the same. But I do give you insert statements. So if you look at so this is the file that I give you. It's a bunch of insert statements. So we just have to create the database, and then we can just execute this bunch of SQL statements, and it'll populate the database. So I'm going to save this on the desktop. Save as someplace on the desktop here in the junk. Okay, it's going to be easy. Okay, I'm just going to say Garden Glory assignment 2. All right, how's that for a nice name for an SQL file? All right. Actually, I can just. Okay. So let's start by creating this database. So I guess we're going to name it Garden Glory. What do I say? Okay, well, anyway, it's Garden Glory. So I'm going to go to MySQL databases and enter in Garden Glory underscore glory, Garden Glory, just like that, caps. And then I'm going to go here, go back to the main cPanel, and click on phpMyAdmin. And I should see Garden Glory. Okay, so go into Garden Glory. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a table. I'm just going to go down the line like this. First one is called owner. It's going to be OWNER, all caps. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 fields like that. Go, 4 columns. And the first one is called owner ID. Let me get this out of the way. Let's make sure it's OWNER ID. And the next one is OWNER name. And the next one is owner email. And the last one is owner type. All right. And let's go down here. And owner ID starts at 1, increments by 1. So that's the primary key. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to select for index under the index column. Let me make this wide for a second. Owner ID index column, I'm going to select primary. That's right. And A underscore I, why that stands for auto increment. Let's see if I can make that pop up. There we go, auto increment. So check that checkbox. Okay, so that's the setting for that. What else now? Owner ID is an integer, 11. Okay, so that's going to default to 11 and not null. It says not null, and so we leave this checkbox, this null checkbox, unchecked. Okay, that's owner ID. So owner name now is varchar 50, not null. So varchar 50, not null. And owner email is varchar 100. And owner type is varchar 12. And it can be null. So owner type is varchar 12. And it can be null. So I'll check that null checkbox. All right. And let's make sure the table is INNODB. We need that because we're going to do the foreign keys. Do I tell you that here? I will make sure I add that. Make sure that you make them INNODB. Otherwise, the foreign key constraints are not enforced. So make sure it's INNODB. And so click Save. All right, fine. Now we've got a table here. Let's click back up on Garden Glory. And now we've got a table here called Owner. If you recall last time, if you click on, where is it here? It's confirm your solution is correct. Click on that. And this is assignment 2. So let's enter in our Joe Schmo. SJ. Dun, dun, dun. Password, and click on Submit for Garden Glory Database Schema. And let's see, we do have owner there. And it's an I and an ODB. And we got these in there are all correct. Very good. Okay. So we're getting there. And so click on return up here because that way it saves. Oh, I know why. I'll fix that too. All right. So we've got owner in here. What's next? What's next? We've got next one is owned property. So click back on database up here. Here we are, and let's add another table called owned property, and that one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. And we've got property property ID, property name, property type, street, city, state, zip, and owner ID. Okay, this is certainly an integer. This is probably varchar something. This is going to be varchar something. This is going to be varchar something. Varchar something. Property type will be a varchar something. So property name and property ID will be an integer. Let's confirm this now. See, property ID is integer, and that's a primary. Is that primary key? Property ID. Yes. Auto increment primary key. Very good. And property name is varchar 50. Property type is varchar 50. 50. Street is 35. City is 35. State is 2. Zip is 10. Owner ID is an integer. Okay, can any of these be null? Property name, not null. Not null. Okay. All right. And make sure it's INNODB. And click Save. And the next one is sample data are for employee. So employee is, go here, and let's create a new table, employee, And that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields. And we've got employee ID. Last name, first name, cell phone, and experience level. And the first one is going to be auto increment primary key. And let's see, last name is L, 25, and first name is 25. This is 25, and this is 25. And cell phone is 12. And experience level is 15. And let's see, hours worked, owner, email can be, okay, that's not. Okay, very good. And INNODB, and click Save. And so now we've got these 3 tables. And let's go and do the GG service table. So click on enter GG service 3. Service ID, service description, and cost per hour. And the cost per hour is, okay, let's, the first one is a primary key auto increment. Let's just click auto increment. Knows it's primary then. And then service description is varchar 100, varchar 100. And cost per hour is decimal 6, 2. Decimal 6, 2. 6 digits. 2, the 2 to the right are to the right of the decimal point. And cost per hour can be null, which means you don't have it filled in yet. You're still negotiating or whatever. It's not 0, or it's 0 is different than null. Null means you don't know what it is yet. 0 would mean it's 0 cost per hour. Service description is varchar 100, and it's not null. And the okay, great. So that's it. Click INNODB, save. That's GG service. And go back up, and the last one is property service. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So property service. Six. And this one, property service ID, property ID, service ID, service date, employee ID, and hours worked. The first one is going to be auto increment primary key. And after that, the property ID is integer. Service ID is integer. Service date is a date. This is a date. Employee ID is an integer. And hours worked is decimal 4,2, and it can be null. Decimal 4,2. It can be null. INNODB, and save. Okay, so we have our 5 tables, and they're all INNODB. Now let's set up the constraints. And referential integrity constraints, owner ID property must exist in owner, which means it's restricted at least, cannot be deleted if it exists, however, can be, if it's modified, the same owner. Okay, so I think what it means is delete is restricted, and update is cascade. So we need owner ID, or that would be in so it's in owned property. So let's go to owned property, and click on relation view, and that's oh, got it. Okay, so that means that owner ID here, owner ID, the database is Garden Glory, and it is the owner database, owner ID. Okay, on delete it restricts, but if you should happen to update the owner ID in the owner table, it will cascade. All right, we're in owned property. I think that's all it's in owned property. Okay, the rest are in, let me see, owned property. It's got this owner ID, okay, and then this is just a primary key. Okay, there's no other foreign keys in there. Okay, so this is fine. Click save, and just out of curiosity, let's try this again. Joe Schmo, SJ percent hash exclamation. This one. And we're getting a lot better here. We just have some property IDs and so on that are not set up yet. We haven't. We got to fix employee. Whoops. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, that's not right. Okay, and then the foreign keys here. This one's there, though. All right, so that's interesting. Employee last names. Oh, gee, I never did that. Okay, well, maybe because I haven't gotten that far yet. Maybe. All right, so this is good. Let's go back to database. And let me go to employee. Maybe I never. Oh my gosh. Oh, auto increment. Okay, so this should be varchar 20. Oh, varchar. Oh, I see. Oh, got it. Okay, so I can go click, 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 click. Those are the ones I want to change. And make this a varchar, 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 and varchar. Let me refresh this. Great. Okay, so now I just have these last three. Ooh, well, yeah, that should go away also. All right, so let's go back to here, and we need to set up all these other foreign key constraints, and basically it's property ID, service ID, employee ID. It's basically this one is a foreign key into the property table. This one is a foreign key into the service table, GG service, and this one is a foreign key into the employee ID table. So let's go to property service, and we can just click right on structure. And we need to go click on relation view. And the constraints are defined the same. They're all the same as before. So basically, it's employee ID is Garden Glory employee ID on update cascade. Add another constraint, and it is property ID Garden Glory owned property ID cascade, and then add constraint service ID Garden Glory GG service ID. And that looks good. Click save. And we click refresh, and I got one off here because I must update rule is restrict, and it should be cascade in property in service ID. So this last one should be, oh yeah, this should be cascade. Oops. All right, save. Now, great, I got all the points. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is we need to populate the database. And so that's this. And so we clicked on this earlier, and it comes up with this. This is just a bunch of SQL. So I'm just going to copy all this. Control A, Control C, and I'm going to go over to the database here, and I'm going to go back to Garden Glory. Doesn't matter. I can click on SQL, and I'm going to paste this right into this SQL window, paste the whole thing, and I'm going to see what happens. Whoa, there it is. Everything's fine. Let me expand this out, and let me pop this over. And so we've got our Garden Glory, and it's got a bunch of records in here. This is employee, and let's go back to, if we go to the owned property table, we should be able to click over here and notice these are links. So who is owner number 2? Let's see. Why, it is DT Enterprises. DT Enterprises. Same with property service. We've got a lot of links here. These are links to property, links to service, and links to employee. Anyway, so we have completed this assignment, the first part. Now, for the second part, you need to go in and these aren't due till the end of the semester, but you basically go in and you submit your answers here. You go back to here again. Let me go back to here, return. And still didn't work. JSCHMOE. So click on Submit Answers for Garden Glory SQL Questions. And it comes in here, and there you confirm it's you. And, I don't recall. Oh, I know why this is. Okay. Anyway, it's because I have two IDs the same, but it's all fixed up. But anyway, so here you go in and you just can enter in your answers. And so this, for example, is the answer to the first one, which is write an SQL statement to list all the columns and rows of the owner table. And so select that from owner. That's the answer. If you were to say something else, like select it from employee, which is the wrong answer, click submit, and it will tell you that it's the wrong answer. So you want it to be select from owner. And yes, that's the right answer. Okay, then you can go on to the next one. So you need to do all of these, and there are various points. They get more difficult, and that's why you don't have to have them done till the end of the semester. All right, so I think that covers it for assignment 2. And so I hope that helps. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.